Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com. You're natural,
I'm
too.
pretty natural, yeah.
You're natural. Also,
Sure.
the president of the Football Writers Association of America, where it's getting busy. For you on the side there, we're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. If you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. Bill, I spent the weekend up in Boston, took a few days off. The second I took some time off, Sherrone Moore was fired. So that was quite the interesting mess to leave you with here at Sporting News. You did a good job covering all the news on that one. But wanted to check in with you. How was your little weekend while I was up in Boston with family?
No, I'm glad you had fun. We had snow here in Ohio, so we had snow day yesterday. That always complicates the house. The Grant has midterms or whatever you call them at St. Charles today. My daughter Bella they're wrapping up too. Everybody, it's kind of like there's 1 foot out the door, but for us, it's like
we got 2 feet in the door right now.
No, we're all the way in right now. Between our All-American team will be out this week, our Player of the Year, our Coach of the Year. We're excited about all those things. Wrapping those up. First round of the playoff is Friday. Excited about that. And then, of course, we can dive into Michigan today a little bit too, and the Heisman, which was last weekend. So plenty to talk about, obviously. There never isn't something to talk about. And we got quarterbacks going in and out of the portal as if we needed something else. So
no question. Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. Before we get into talking about Michigan, we want to recap. We want to get your take on everything that's happened there and what will happen now. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Heisman Trophy. Fernando Mendoza gets the win. Diego Pavia gets the big loss, and then talk a little bit about the quarterbacks and how they are on the move. And then we will be back Thursday morning, of course, at 9:30 to talk CFP first round. Maybe we'll touch on a few prominent bowl games as well, but definitely going to get into the details on that before things kick off on Friday night with Alabama. But first, some Trocchi trivia. Are you ready, Mr. Biff Poggi is Michigan's interim coach after the dismissal of Sherrone Moore. Biff spent 2 years at Charlotte, where he went 3-9 and then 3-7 and was fired. The trivia question is: Charlotte has had one winning season since it became FBS in 2015. Who was the coach, and what bowl game did they go to? That's your trivia question for today. Charlotte has been to one bowl, one winning season since 2015. Who was the coach, and where did they play their postseason game? All right, let's get into Michigan. We will answer that one at the end of the show, by the way. So more trouble in Ann Arbor, Bill, as soon as I got out of here. Quick recap. Sherrone Moore was fired with cause last Thursday due to an inappropriate relationship with an administrative assistant within the football program. Rumors had been swirling about this, but Michigan conducted an investigation, did not find anything, apparently, but the assistant eventually came forward and revealed the relationship to the school after she broke it off. Moore was later arrested that day for breaking and entering, home invasion, and stalking. There was concern for his mental health and reportedly threatened suicide at his administrative assistant's house. Very heavy situation for Michigan and for Moore. Really, some people were making light of it on social media. This was not a situation really to make light of, at least right off the bat, for sure. I guess my question to you is, how off guard were you caught? How many rumors had you kind of seen that they were looking at things kind of off the field with him before it came to light?
Well, you just said it best. Like, you don't want to make too much light of the situation. That obviously our editor Elliot texted me. I was driving Bella to dance class, and I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna take the afternoon off." And he said, "Well, Sherrone Moore got fired," and that didn't, like, when you read that text, it didn't like shock me for some reason. And I think some of it was, you had seen some message board material bubble up that there was some, behind the scenes trouble at Michigan. I think that's the way it was. And then you start to put the 2 and 2 together. Is Sherrone Moore the first coach to have an inappropriate relationship behind the scenes? Probably not. I mean, the answer is no, obviously. But did this bubble up into a potentially scary, life-threatening situation? Yes, for a lot of parties involved, which was that now the salacious details are starting to come out, and then you're getting into, okay, why didn't they just hire Kalen DeBoer in the first place? Because here's the thing, and now they're going to probe the athletic department. You've had 2 NCAA investigations that you kind of got out of, so to speak. I would say you avoided total disaster for your program, and then you have a total disaster hit your program. That I don't know if this is punishable by the NCAA. They could say it's punishable more by the school, because you could say some people hid this inappropriate relationship that was quote unquote an open secret. Could cost Ward Manuel his job, but it doesn't look like they're in a big hurry to do that. And it just closed. I think they just need to close the Harbaugh chapter. Yes, it produced some good national title NFL players, but I think it's going to be remembered as I described it, like the montage at the end of the documentary where everything went wrong. This is yet another spiral in that. So as for Sherrone Moore, Bill, I don't know where this goes from the court proceedings. I'm sure people will follow it. It's that one. That one's the stunner. I've covered college football for a long time. This one's a little bit different than anything else.
Yeah, so I guess he went to either the courthouse or see his lawyer yesterday. His wife was with him and his daughter or something like that. So like he's not in some situation where he's, having to be watched or whatever, is dangerous to himself or anything like that. So that was good to see because that, like you said, that took a turn. That took a serious turn, and it was scary, and glad that, nothing came of it other than, obviously very bad stuff.
There's a human element
when you're talking about suicide and things like that, and just his mental state at the time, you hope he can get through that, and a little bit at a time. So saw him in a photo yesterday outside, I think it was a lawyer's office or something, and so he was functioning and whatever. So that was good to see. So Michigan, they hired an outside law firm to investigate whether these quote unquote rumors were true earlier, and didn't find it. Now they are commissioning an investigation of the whole athletic department, because they've had issues in different sports, even with, Juwan Howard punching a coach, just craziness they're all different. I don't think they're related or whatever, but it just seems like Michigan has had a lot of things to clean up. The curious thing to me is they're using the same firm that didn't really find anything on the front end of this to investigate the whole athletic department. You might want to go with a different firm just for optics more than anything, because they've been sort of laughed at, like this was an open secret. What did you guys do? Just say, are you having an affair? No. All right. End of investigation.
Okay.
Like, it's just a bad look, I think, to use the same firm to take an overall look, what I think is needed. And it's a good idea. And hopefully they can figure out what the issues are and not have any more moving forward. But I would have used a different firm.
Well, that too. I mean, and then, Ward could probably, in his defense, say, well, I did hire the basketball coach, and they're doing all right. I mean, they have the best basketball team in the country right now, if not one of. They are blistering people in basketball, but that's what they need on the football side. Now, I've talked about, like, when they're talking about bringing in Jesse Minter or Jed Fish, I would think that would be a mistake, because, again, the Jim Harbaugh era produced a lot of good in Ann Arbor. They won a national title. They have tons of guys in the NFL. They flipped the rivalry with Ohio State for a couple years. But it also came with too much controversy, especially in those last 5 years, between the Burgergate one I don't care about. I've never cared about. The sign stealing one I moderately care about. We've done that over and over on here. We don't need to go through that one again. And then this one's just kind of like a topper of, I mean, how? Like, what they should have done 2 years ago is probably hire Kalen DeBoer the first time. And if they don't, get Kalen DeBoer, which Kalen can say on Twitter, I'm happy at Alabama, they'll probably still make a phone call when Alabama gets eliminated from the playoff. If he doesn't go, fine. If Kenny Dillingham doesn't go, fine. If it's not Jed Fish, fine. Whoever this coach is, I think the number one priority is to reset the culture so things like this don't happen again. You don't think that can happen? Marcus Freeman has reset the entire Notre Dame culture, like entire culture from what it was with BK. It's an attractive place to be now. And I don't think Notre Dame they even had like one issue, like knock on wood for the program, I suppose, but they've had very little extracurricular issues. He's running a very clean program. I don't know, Bill. So we'll see who that guy is. I've kind of thrown around Dan Mullen a lot. If all these candidates don't come true, I mean, he's a guy that could take that step up. He handled winning at Florida. And then if none of that happens, Brian Driscoll, his ears are burning somewhere. At a certain point, you just got to call BK and say, we don't care what about your social media cringiness. We know you can. He is competent at minimum. You've got to say about BK. He demonstrated the ability to be competent at major programs. He was competent at Notre Dame. You can't say he wasn't. And he was competent for the most part at LSU, in my opinion, with the exception of last year. So that's probably where that's headed.
So interesting you bring up BK. Yeah, I wanted to talk about, you put a list of coaching candidates together at sportingnews.com, still on our college football page. You can check that out. And the thing about BK, I mean, obviously he's not at the top of the list, but he's been to two programs that pretty much have a ceiling of a national championship, and he hasn't been able to do it. That's the James Franklin thing. Penn State felt like they had a ceiling of a national championship. He couldn't get there. He is not necessarily at a program right now at Virginia Tech that has the same sort of resources and expectations. It would be a hard sell, I think, to the Michigan people to give the keys to someone who's hasn't fulfilled the potential of two blue bloods already, to give him a third shot. Maybe it works. But like I said, I think it might be a hard sell at first.
It might be. But they're not in a position to demand right now either.
Right. True.
Otherwise you're going to end up with Jed Fish, and Jed Fish is fine. I saw Jake Butt had a very glowing recommendation of Jed Fish, but Jed Fish coached under Harbaugh. So people are going to be like, this is still remnants of this era where, like you said, I mean, I'm sure some Michigan fans don't care. They're like, whatever, we won. The NCAA didn't take any of this away. And then there's others that are like, okay, at what point do we become a laughing stock? Because we've had all these situations where, Sherrone was, and again, not to make light of it, he was instant meme material last week. I mean, if you would have told me, Bill, I'm going on vacation for a few days, and then 2 days later, I'm like, that's Sherrone Moore at an arraignment in a jumpsuit. That was not on the radar. So, we're just lucky. Again, there are some lives that are going to need repaired. There's some lives that have certainly been damaged, and you hope that part gets fixed. And that's more important than football. So, but as far as Michigan football, again, people are saying, well, Bryce Underwood might flip. Who cares? That's secondary to cleaning up the program.
Yes,
if you clean up your program
decision based on one player,
ever, or a 5-star running back, that's fine. If they want to go elsewhere, there are bigger problems in the house than having a couple players leave. And that's right. And you can flip that in a year. So that's where I'm at on that.
So one last thing, Kenny Dillingham, why aren't they putting the full court press on him? Maybe they are. And I mean, he seems to say all the right things, that he's staying and things like that, and maybe he will. To me, given all the circumstances and who's available, that's the guy I would want if I'm Michigan. And if I'm him, if I leave Arizona State for Michigan, I think it's forgivable, so to speak. Right. He wouldn't be a Lane Kiffin type of villain at Arizona State anymore or whatever. I don't know. That's the match that I'm kind of waiting for, but I don't feel any momentum towards it.
No, and I like Kenny. It's funny, the last Arizona State coach that touch the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan was John Cooper. So he did well in every game but the game. But, I think Kenny Dillingham's got a little bit of charisma, obviously. I think it'd be really hard. I hate when we corner the coaches, by the way, now. I think we just try to corner them into saying, I'm staying, when if they give an honest answer, which an honest answer is, listen, I will probably – if Kalen DeBoer or Kenny Dillingham could be honest, or even Jed Fish, they asked him right after the bowl game, you'd say something like, listen, they're probably going to call and I'm going to take the conversation. It doesn't mean I'm not going to stay here. This is 2025. I'm not going to say I'm staying and then leave and then have everybody hate me. I wish but reporters, we have to do our job. Like you can say every coach is going to take the call, but why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's just keeping your options open in life.
Millions of dollars. It's
right. Like if they call me, it doesn't mean I don't want to leave, but that's life. So I wish, like DeBoer, for example, he puts that statement out. Now, if he leaves, we couldn't trust him. Well, maybe they offered a bunch of $1 million. So
they flat out change. They asked him point blank, "Are you going to be the coach at Alabama next year?" Yes, in person yesterday at the bowl press conference. So speaking of bowls, Michigan 7.5-point underdogs according to FanDuel against Texas in the Citrus Bowl. After all these distractions, what do you think about that?
That could be an ugly bowl game. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, I thought last year would be ugly against Alabama, and they won the game. Bowl games are terminally unpredictable, as you can see with our bowl predictions at Sporting News. So, but we'll see where it goes. There's plenty of mileage left on Michigan. We'll definitely have it covered over at Sporting News. There's no question.
All right, let's get into the Heisman Trophy. Fernando Mendoza, of course, won on Saturday night. He's the first Heisman winner in Indiana history. He won it by a comfortable margin. I was wrong. I thought it was going to be close. I thought the Midwest guys might split the votes a little bit, but he was way out in front of the guy who stole the show a little bit later in a negative way, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt's quarterback. He won the Davey O'Brien Award as the nation's top quarterback a few days before the Heisman ceremony. But he became the story in the hours after Saturday night, posting on Instagram, F the voters on his account while he was partying with his posse in New York. He issued an apology the next day, congratulating Mendoza and saying he respected the voters and pretty much owned his misbehavior, but the damage was done. And I don't think the apology erased anything. I think even Vanderbilt people are very disappointed that he embarrassed the school. He embarrassed his coaches, his teammates. And I don't know if there's going to be consequences as far as Clark Lee sitting him for a half of the bowl game or something like that. I don't know anything about that, but it's just like a very disappointing end to a very fun story for Pavia and for Vanderbilt.
Well, it's not over yet. They still have a bowl game, and that'll be good TV too now because more people will tune in. No publicity is bad publicity sometimes. I think he'll have more haters, and honestly, he'll probably have more people that like him, unfortunately, because of that behavior, the bad boy mentality. I mean, two completely different, auras, as the Jack's on here, Frencho, as our his grandson and my son like to say. That word aura gets out there a lot, but Mendoza's like the Boy Scout, man. What a wonderful story. Good kid. Great speech, emotional. You can tell how much this stuff means to him and the path that he's taken, both with his family and, at Indiana. Now, Pavia, this might be an unpopular take, but he let his emotions get to him. He shouldn't have said that. It's poor representation. There's no question. I know how much pride you have in Vanderbilt, Bill, and this season that they've had. And all he had to do is say the right things for a minute. And now you allow for the critics to come in. Like I was a critic earlier in the season with the Johnny Manziel stuff and say, look, this guy's about him. And we don't really know. We overanalyzed when he barked at the Alabama guy, the Alabama fan after the game. And this just gives people confirmation bias, unfortunately.
Sure.
Now,
Well,
Does
the
it bother me?
3 days before the Heisman, he's out. He's on. There's a video of him with all these Special Olympians going on a shopping spree at Dick's that he's paying for, and he was like really engaged with the kids and spending time with them, whatever. But needless to say, that's way in the background at this.
Right. No, yeah, and I don't F the voters. Like, do I take that personally as a Heisman Trophy voter? No, I could care less. Like, I had him. We're allowed to share that now. Like, my ballot was Mendoza, Pavia, Rodriguez, and I was confident in it. I considered Love as 3. I considered saying at 3. I just really like Jacob Rodriguez. I thought he was, he was very good. But Pavia showed immaturity. He will probably be asked about that at the NFL. Most people assume he'll be day 2, day 3 guy in the NFL anyway. It still doesn't detract for me that he had a wonderful season, that he led a Vanderbilt to this historic season, total offense, all those things. Really good player on the field. Hopefully he learns from it. He did apologize. And look, if they were out on the town in New York, I'm not defending the actions. I'm just saying if he was out that night and emotional and he's a kid being a kid, he's going to do dumb things. So at least it wasn't like get arrested or those kind of things. If he fired up a couple tweets, it's just another warning that you don't.
Social media ain't good, Bill.
You don't press send. It's just another. That's what I always tell. Again, Mr. Frencho's on here, and what do we tell our kids? Don't press send. I tell Grant this all the time. Like, if you think it's borderline, don't press send or don't share. If you even think it's close to borderline, come see me first. And, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I haven't scrolled through funny, immature memes or said immature things in my life when I was that age either. So I'm having a less time passing judgment as long as we just realize that, for you, well, you go ahead. I've talked enough. You're the Vanderbilt guy. Not me. Well, I mean, do you have anything other than that to add? Other than I'm excited to watch his bowl game?
It was a collective disappointment that he lost, and then there was a major collective disappointment in the way he took it. And, because of Vanderbilt, he got this opportunity. He's a millionaire. He's made a lot of money. He did a lot for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt did a lot for him. But he, like I said, he embarrassed the fan base. Everybody was disappointed in that. And no one wants to be piled on. Vanderbilt is obviously traditionally the underdog. They have this great season. Now everybody's angry at Vanderbilt for, after they actually did something well on the field. So we'll see. I don't think Clark is happy about it. I don't know any inside dope yet. So we'll find out at some point, and we'll see how he handles the few weeks leading up to this Iowa game. Publicly, because he is going to have to apologize for it again, right. And, he likes to maintain his edge. And I've seen some people say, you need people in the locker room like that. And that's true, but he's 24 years old. He knows the difference between public and private and what it's going to look like. So went too far. And I guess he thought he was going to win, especially after he won the Davey O'Brien, and he lashed out big time.
Bill, I'll say I thought the vote would be closer. I did. I that was a huge gap in the vote. I thought,
there were 200 something voters that had him not even on the ballot.
Yeah, I thought that would be but it was one of those. You heard people saying, "Well, this was just not a great Heisman race." I mean, for Fernando Mendoza, it was pretty great. It was a. I just thought the gap would be a little bit closer. I thought that would have been around like 400 votes or so that Pavia, because of some of the things presented statistically. And again, you always do that. Fernando Mendoza, great player. But I was saying this consistently during the year. The two guys that I thought meant more to their team than anybody else were probably Diego Pavia and Haynes King. And both of those guys really well. Doesn't mean you're and again, you do is he the best player in college football? People were doing that with Jeremiah Smith. Well, yeah, Jeremiah Smith or Jeremiah Love's probably the best player in college football, or Caleb Downs or Jacob Rodriguez, but it's still a quarterback award.
Yeah, you're right. So, all right, let's move on to some other quarterbacks who are going to be on the move. 3 of them, 3 prominent QBs. Nebraska's Dylan Raiola hasn't quite made it official, but it's pretty much official. Florida's DJ Lagway, and Brandon Sorsby of Cincinnati, who had a fantastic year for the Bearcats, and he is going to he's actually looking at the NFL a little bit, and if he gets maybe a second-round grade or so, he may head to the NFL, or he may come back to college, and he will be handsomely rewarded financially, I would imagine, from some team who is looking for an experienced quarterback. He's got a lot to bring to the table. And then, of course, the news that Arch Manning is coming back for Texas. He is not going to the NFL. He will have one more year to kind of get better. Which of these quarterbacks, so the three that are kind of on the move, if you are a team in need, let's say Baylor's name has come up a lot with Sawyer Robertson gone, for example. Who's your 1, 2, 3 as you're kind of looking to recruit some of these transfer QBs?
Sorsby's got good experience. I mean, Raiola and Lagway. I still like Raiola's potential. I think he makes some throws that you're like, okay, I get it. He also was at Nebraska where there was a lot. There were games I would watch him and be like, why is he not better? And you can't judge receivers. Lagway had moments. I know Morgan Moriarty with us. She follows him pretty closely, Florida and everything. And I talked through things with her about it. And it, again, moments of this is why this guy was a 5-star. And then others like, what is he looking at?
High ceiling, low floor guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think both of those, I think Raiola would be very interesting with the right fit around him. Like a Dylan Raiola, you think about him at LSU and you're like, yeah, Lane could make that work pretty quickly, that kind of thing. Sorsby,
maybe Indiana gets Sorsby.
And maybe comes back, right?
He could be. Say what?
He transferred from Indiana, didn't he?
Did he?
I'm pretty sure. So like Sorsby played there, so okay. He's coming back. Let me double check that before I sound really stupid on the air this morning. Yeah, he was at Indiana for 2 seasons.
Oh,
I thought so. I know I've seen him on a Big Ten telecast somewhere. So maybe Sorsby will come back to Indiana. Something like that. But man, you froze me there for a second.
I mean, it's just like they had a quarterback for 1 year. He won the Heisman. Like that's an attractive place for these guys.
Well, and it's worked twice because Rourke played well there too.
Yeah.
And now you got a system where you're going to throw a lot of back shoulder fades. You've got good receivers. When you talk to Indiana people, they love that receiving core. So it's a fun offense to operate in, and any one of those guys can do. And then we mentioned Arch, right? Did we talk about Arch yet? Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I just said he was coming back.
Yeah, so that's predictable. I think we're going to get much better results from Arch Manning next year. And then maybe he will be this number 1 pick we were all talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if the offensive line improves, that's the X factor with him.
We'll watch his mechanics and we'll overanalyze his mechanics again. But I think, you mentioned that bowl game against Michigan. Here's a fearless prediction. If Texas stomps Michigan, which is entirely possible, the hype machine recirculates and we go right back to Texas as number 2 in the country behind Ohio State to start the season. And what's old is new again. I could see all of that happening.
CJ Carr is going to get a lot of Heisman buzz next year too, is he?
Yeah, I mean,
comes back for his second year.
Julian Sayin will be back, and we've got good quarterbacks coming back in college football at good programs, that was a big question coming into the year. How many new quarterbacks were going to be in new places?
All the veterans didn't do well last year that we thought were going to do well. So.
Well, and then the next domino, and this kind of brings everything we've talked about today in full circle, is Underwood might get on the move. You never know. But regardless, again, whoever Michigan hires, there needs to be some quarterback development there because Bryce Underwood was okay. I mean, you can give him a pass as a freshman, but they need a scheme and receivers and things to help his development, not hinder it.
Right. All right, let's get back to the trivia question, and then we will get out of here and keep hammering out our All-America team, which is going to be published live at sportingnews.com tomorrow. We'll finish up that. Trocchi Trivia, Charlotte, which is the home of Biff Poggi, Michigan's interim coach for 2 years. They've had one winning season in its FBS history, which started in 2015. Who was the coach that led them to that winning season, and what bowl game did they play in?
I know the coach. My roommate worked for him for a bit. Will Healy.
Yes.
And I think the bowl game's the Myrtle Beach Bowl, but I could be wrong. I'm not less confident in that. I think I'll guess Myrtle Beach.
It wasn't the Myrtle Beach Bowl. They played a MAC team. I don't know if that rings a bell. They went to the 2019 Bahamas Bowl, and they were beat by.
Hold on. Let me at least throw a guess there.
Throw a MAC team out there for me.
There's so many of them. It wasn't Ohio. I would know that. It was Ball State.
Buffalo.
Close.
Buffalo.
not really close at all, but not close.
You don't remember the 2019 Bahamas Bowl?
Now that you're mentioning it, I'm going to go look at the box score and see if Jarrett Patterson was Buffalo's running back. I'll do that when we get off the call here, because he was very briefly a Heisman candidate. So that could be very true. Yes. So.
All right, that's it. So thanks to everyone for coming in, and we'll be back Thursday morning at 9:30 to talk CFP first round and break it down, and then touch on a few other bowls. And we want to thank everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you Thursday.